Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video, another one. Flippin' heck. Banana Jam is safe and well and she is back to work. She is dropping info left, right and center. This one's going to be about champion rebalances, champion changes, which, you know, all the time Plarium are dropping out content or info on a monthly basis or changes, whatever. They're throwing in a few champion reworks as well, which I love. I love they're doing it monthly. So this is cool. Let's go into it. Let's go in and see which champions there are. And a couple of them, yeah, a lot of us are going to have, honestly, or will have down the line. So, you know, we've got one of these champions is a login champion. Yes. Yes. So let's get into it. The first one is perhaps one of the coolest looking champions in the game. I don't have him yet. Yakol, the Scourge. I'm pleased I've actually grabbed a couple of champions from the kind of video where me and Ash talked about legendaries which should be buffed. Yakol was one of the ones that we spoke about quite heavily. So what's going on here then? Yakol, A1. Currently it's a double hitter, blah, blah, blah. We see everything there. It's going to change to, will ignore 25% of the target's defense against targets under freeze. So at the minute we've got here, we'll also ignore 30% of the target's defense if there's 3 or more enemies under freeze. That's going to go, and it's just going to change to, will always ignore 25% target's defense. It's actually a pretty good upgrade because this is random and, you know, 3 targets to have a freeze debuff is pretty, you know, you've almost got to bring a whole AoE freeze champion in instead. But just if someone's frozen, 25% defense ignored, not bad, not bad. What else have we got? The A2 then will also ignore 50% of the target's defense if they're under freeze. So we're getting ignored defense across the board here. That's pretty massive. That's a massive change for Blizzard Riser here. So already does some stuff like ignore stealing targets turn meter, pretty cool. Places increased speed, pretty cool. It didn't really hit hard enough, so ignoring 50% defense is actually quite a big upgrade. And then we go into Glaciate. So Glaciate is going to be attacks all enemies. Instead of attacks one enemy 3 times, so if the target's under freeze, removes the debuff, then attacks all enemies, yeah? And it can hit okay. This one will change to attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a freeze. This chance increases to 100% against targets with 75 or more turn meter. This debuff cannot be resisted by targets with 75% or more turn meter. So high turn meter opponents will straight up be a freeze that cannot be resisted. Way better. Way better. Okay, that's pretty sweet. And then lastly is passive. It's all changing. The whole kit's been changed. So let's see. Decreases the damage his champion receives by 10 and increases the damage he inflicts if they're under freeze. And then there's a bit more that goes into it. So it's changing to increases the damage this champion inflicts by 10% for each enemy under freeze. So it could scale 10, 20, 30, 40. Pretty big again. Also decreases the damage this champion receives by 10% for each enemy under freeze. So instead of a straight 10, could go up to a 40%, 30, 40, whatever, percent damage reduction. Damn. We've then got an active effect. So we've got the active effect here. It places unkillable on this champion for 2 turns if there's 3 enemies under freeze. Changes to places an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn whenever they kill an enemy under freeze. Doesn't say anything about a cooldown. So the minute the active's got a 5-turn cooldown, doesn't say anything about a cooldown. So at the minute places unkillable for on this turn on this champion for 2 turns whenever there's 3 enemies that are frozen. Changes to whenever he kills someone gets an unkillable buff. Damn. This is going to all battles 33%. It is a full Yakol rework. I'd say that is a juicy amount of changes to make him playable. Feels juicy to me. Comment below, is it enough for you to get him out your vault? Ignoring defense here, more guaranteed. Ignoring defense on the A2. Smacking on the A3 with an AoE. And an irresistible debuff, which means that you don't need to build accuracy into that part of the kit. and then a much better passive ability which scales for number of freezes. Damn, that feels good. I feel like it feels like a good change for him. So there you go. First one feels solid. Second one is this login champion, which was the first of the, we lost our 5-star chickens and we lost our sacreds. So everyone hates Kleopatra. Even if Kleopatra was the best champion in the game now, everybody hates her because of what she represents. But let's see what they're going to do. Oh look, this is easy to talk about here. I can't tell you anything else other than damage increased, damage increased, damage increased, damage increased. Everything about her now has just got more damage. So we'll see what it's like when it comes through. We'll see if it's worth the effort. I mean, she's actually already kind of a high damage dealing champion. Honestly, people don't use her because they're frustrated with her, and really they're frustrated with Hex not really doing a lot. Is her kit usable as it is? We've got a weaken here. It increases if there's a Hex around. We've got this increased crit rate on her, then attacks enemies. So you could kind of build her with 70% crit rate if you want. Also books up to 100% chance of putting block active skills if people are under Hex. That's actually a cool skill, but you need the Hex there first. But she does have this ability here. So increases accuracy on herself. Does an AoE. 100% if booked, chance of placing Hex. So she does a Hex job all right already. The trouble is Hex is not great. So unless they change something around Hex or make these champions have a bit more survivability, I think we're still going to struggle to see her in content. But it'll be interesting to see how much more damage she actually does. Okay, next one up. Similar sort of buff here, but this is a champion I've spoken about a fair amount in the past. Like, he is a solo Bummel potential champion, yeah? He's got a cool passive on him, which means that he can basically block damage when it's coming at him and it's going to take him down. That's really cool for Bummel. The trouble with him is he's an HP-based champion and he doesn't hit at all. He's got this AoE ability here, which is pretty cool. His kit's pretty cool. He just hits like an absolute noodle right now. So all it's saying here again is damage increased for A1, damage increased for A2, and damage increased for A3, but we don't know by how much. So we will see that as it drops. Next one up is pretty old school legendary. It's one of my first ones actually that I ever got. So Scourge, he's outside of the meta by some way, I would say. He's got an okay kit, AoE, A1. He's got buffs on his A2, which feels like he needs more on this A2, honestly. And then he's got this pretty cool A3 where he cleanses your whole team, heals them, and gives them turn me to fill. But it's on a 5-turn cooldown, so it's a pretty long cooldown. And he's got a dungeon speed aura. So what they're doing with him, they're changing his rebirth. So the cooldown is coming down 1 from 7 to 6, which means it's bookable down to 4. Change the order of actions in the skill. Scourge will remove debuffs first, then heal his allies. I don't really know why that's a relevant thing that they're doing there. Why would they do that first? I'm not really sure why the change of order makes any difference, but that's what they've done anyway. So removes all debuffs from allies, then heals them. The amount by which each ally is healed increases according to the number of debuffs removed. When it's ascended, though, so there's a change when it's ascended. Change the order of the action, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the same. But they've written a whole paragraph on this, and it doesn't look like there's really anything else in what they're saying. The amount by which each champion is healed increases. The amount of turn meter filled increases due to the number of debuffs. The rest of it is the same. So they've written literally like about 10 lines on it. It's basically saying me the same thing 8 times over. Okay, Scourge, a small change. I can't see it being enough to get him into the meta. I feel like this needs something else on this A2 nowadays. This is quite a good cleanse though, so we'll see. We'll see if it's worthwhile. Next one up. This is a champion that a lot of people talk about as well. Noble. Mr. Smiles. Wispy beard. Probably thought of as one of the worst in the game, really. You know, he's got this awful base speed, 92. It's like an uncommon. or a common champion. So what are they doing? They're changing his speed. There you go. They're changing his speed from 92 to 98. They're also doing something with Dismay. Where's Dismay? Here. So Dismay at the moment, AoE ability books to 100% chance of decreasing enemies' turn meter by 20% if there are enemies under fear. That's going to go up to 50%. So the AoE will now drop turn meter by 50% instead of 20. It's a reasonable change, actually. Also, on Desolation, which is his passive here, whenever an enemy's turn meter is fully depleted by any champion, 50% books up to 75, replacing True Fear. That's going to go up to 75, books to 100. Is that enough to get this fella into the meta? I don't think so. I don't think it's enough, personally. Again, comment below. I've not used him a lot, so let me know. Is it someone that you've used and you think that would make the change? Is that going to make the difference to you? Of those, the best one for me is the Yukol buff feels substantial, feels like it's a good change. Obviously, we'll see what the damage increases look like on Samara and Kleopatra, but there you go. Buffs come in next patch. I've been Hell Hades. I will see you later.